And we continue on page 128, writing and using a personal mission statement. From our book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, we're in habit 2, begin with the end in mind. As we go deeply within ourselves, and as we understand and realign our basic paradigms to bring them in harmony with correct principles, we create both an effective, empowering center and a clear lens through which we can see the world. We can then focus that lens on how we, as unique individuals, relate to that world. Frankl says we detect rather than invent our missions in life. I like that choice of words. I think each of us has an internal monitor or a sense, a conscience. It gives us an awareness of our uniqueness and the singular contributions that we can make. In Frankl's words, everyone has his own specific vocation or mission in life. Therein he cannot be replaced, nor can his life be repeated. Thus, everyone's task is as unique as is his specific opportunity to implement it. In seeking to give verbal expression to that uniqueness, we are again reminded of the fundamental importance of proactivity and of working within our circle of influence. To seek some abstract meaning to our lives out in our circle of concern is to abdicate our proactive responsibility, to place our own first creation in the hands of circumstance and other people. Our meaning comes from within. Again, in the words of Frankl, ultimately man should not ask what the meaning of his life is, but rather must recognize that it is he who is asked. In a word, each man is questioned by life, and he can only answer to life by answering for his own life. To life he can only respond by being responsible. Personal responsibility, or proactivity, is fundamental to the first creation. Returning to the computer metaphor, Habit 1 says, you are the programmer. Habit 2 then says, write the program. Until you accept the idea that you are responsible, that you are the programmer, you won't really invest in writing the program. As proactive people, we can begin to give expression to what we want to be and to do in our lives. We can write a personal mission statement, a personal constitution. A mission statement is not something you write overnight. It takes deep introspection, careful analysis, thoughtful expression, and often many rewrites to produce it in final form. It may take you several weeks or even months before you really feel comfortable with it, before you feel it is a complete and concise expression of your innermost values and directions. Even then, you will want to review it regularly and maybe make minor changes as the years bring additional insights or changing circumstances. But fundamentally, your mission statement becomes your constitution, the solid expression of your vision and values. It becomes the criterion by which you measure everything else in your life. I recently finished reviewing my own mission statement, which I do fairly regularly, sitting on the edge of a bench alone at the end of a bicycle ride. I took out my organizer and hammered it out. It took several hours, but I felt a sense of clarity, a sense of organization and commitment, a sense of exhilaration and freedom. I find the process is as important as the product. Writing or reviewing a mission statement changes you because it forces you to think through your priorities deeply, carefully, and to align your behavior with your beliefs. As you do, Other people begin to sense that you're not being driven by everything that happens to you. You have a sense of mission about what you're trying to do, and you are excited about it. A little asterisk down here. If you would like to see some additional examples of mission statements, or if you would like a worksheet to help you develop your own, please call 1-800-255-0777. There is no cost to you. Again, this book is old, so I don't know if that number's like still active or even a real thing. Just reading you the book, therefore you get the whole thing. All right, the next part is using your whole brain. Our self-awareness empowers us to examine our own thoughts. This is particularly helpful in creating a personal mission statement, because the two unique human endowments that enable us to practice habit 2, imagination and conscience, are primarily functions of the right side of the brain. Understanding how to tap into that right brain capacity greatly increases our first creation ability. A great deal of research has been conducted for decades on what has come to be called brain dominance theory. The findings basically indicate that each hemisphere of the brain, left and right, tends to specialize in and preside over different functions, process different kinds of information, and deal with different kinds of problems. Essentially, the left hemisphere is the more logical, verbal one, and the right hemisphere the more intuitive, creative one. The left deals with words, the right with pictures, the left with parts and specifics, the right with wholes and the relationship between the parts. The left deals with analysis, which means to break apart, the right with synthesis, which means to put together. The left deals with sequential thinking, the right with simultaneous and holistic thinking. The left is time-bound, the right is time-free. Although people use both sides of the brain, one side or the other generally tends to be dominant. Of course, the ideal would be to cultivate and develop the ability to have good crossover between both sides of the brain, so that a person could first sense what the situation called for, and then use the appropriate tool to deal with it. But people tend to stay in the comfort zone of their dominant hemisphere and process every situation according to either a right or left brain preference. In the words of Abraham Maslow, he that is good with a hammer tends to think everything is a nail. This is another factor that affects the young lady/old lady perception difference. Right brain and left brain people tend to look at things in different ways. We live in a primarily left brain dominant world where words and measurement and logic are enthroned, and the more creative, intuitive, sensing, artistic aspect of our nature is often subordinated. Many of us find it more difficult to tap into our right brain capacities. Admittedly, this description is very oversimplified, and new studies will undoubtedly throw more light on brain functioning. But the point here is that we are capable of performing many different kinds of thought processes, and we barely tap our potential. As we become aware of its different capacities, we can consciously use our minds to meet specific needs in more effective ways. 2 ways to tap the right brain. If we use the brain dominance theory as a model, it becomes evident that the quality of our first creation is significantly impacted by our ability to use our creative right brain. The more we are able to draw upon our right brain capacity, the more fully we will be able to visualize, to synthesize, to transcend time and present circumstances, to project a holistic picture of what we want to do and be in life. The next category under the 2 ways to tap the right brain is expand perspective. Sometimes we are knocked out of our left brain environment and thought patterns and into the right brain by an unplanned experience. The death of a loved one, a severe illness, a financial setback, or extreme adversity can cause us to stand back, look at our lives, and ask ourselves some hard questions. What's really important? Why am I doing what I'm doing? But if you're proactive, you don't have to wait for circumstances or other people to create perspective expanding experiences. You can consciously create your own. There are a number of ways to do this. Through the powers of your imagination, you can visualize your own funeral, as we did at the beginning of this chapter. Write your own eulogy. Actually write it out. Be specific. You can visualize your 25th and then your 50th wedding anniversary. Have your spouse visualize this with you. Try to capture the essence of the family relationship you want to have created through your day-by-day investment over a period of many years. You can visualize your retirement from your present occupation. What contributions, what achievements will you want to have made in your field? What plans will you have after retirement? Will you enter a second career? Expand your mind. Visualize in rich detail. Involve as many emotions and feelings as possible. Involve as many of the senses as you can. I have done similar visualization exercises with some of my university classes. Assume you only have this one semester to live, I tell my students, and that during this semester you are to stay in school as a good student. Visualize how you would spend your semester. Things are suddenly placed in a different perspective. Values quickly surface that before weren't even recognized. I've also asked students to live with that expanded perspective for a week and keep a diary of their experiences. The results are very revealing. They start writing to parents to tell them how much they love and appreciate them. They reconcile with a brother, a sister, a friend, where the relationship has deteriorated. The dominant central theme of their activities, the underlying principle, is love. The futility of bad-mouthing, bad thinking, put-downs, and accusation become very evident when they think in terms of having only a short time to live. Principles and values become more evident to everybody. There are a number of techniques using your imagination that can put you in touch with your values, but the net effect of every one I have ever used is the same. When people seriously undertake to identify what really matters most to them in their lives, what they really want to be and to do, they become very reverent. They start to think in larger terms than today and tomorrow. All right, the next category will be visualization and affirmation, and that should finish. That's about, somewhere around 10 pages left of this chapter 2. So I appreciate you being with me and letting me read to you. We have a seagull, just a gull. Sorry, I keep calling them seagulls because that's where they originated from, I thought. But thank you for listening. I appreciate you.